Hi guys, Dash Galaxy here. In this video I'm going to show you very quickly what a brief excerpt of a combat might look like. As combat begins, both players draw 5 cards from their combat deck, and by now they should have 3 planning cards as well. Then they select 1 kaiju to activate to make their active battling kaiju. Now both teams have selected an active kaiju. Here we have Team Maro, and here we have Team 47. Since Team Maro has the higher initiative, it gets to attack first. Before you attack, it's a good idea to take into account the bonus fortitude from your team cards, as well as other stats that need to be counted. Both kaiju begin the game with 10 power tokens or energy tokens. Because of Team Fortitude bonuses, Team Maro gets +2 fortitude, and Team 47 gets +3. To make it easier to count stats, if there's a bonus to the stat, I like to put the token on the card. If there is a detractor to the stat, for example, they have taken damage, I'll put the tokens outside of the card. I'll show you what that means in a little bit. So, Team Maro has a few options here. One of the options is they can rampage or attack one of these buildings. Another option is that they can attack the kaiju, and this is probably what you're going to do most of the time. They can also roar, and they can also pass, and they can also challenge another enemy kaiju that is not in play, inviting it to come into play. I'm going to have Mijin roar just so I can show you how it works. When you roar, you typically, unless your power says otherwise, get 2 additional energy tokens, and on top of that you also get 2 more combat cards added to your hand. If you had fewer than 5 combat cards, you could discard one to draw back up to 5. Once the roar action is completed, initiative passes over to Team 47. Team 47 selects an action to take, and Team Maro selects a defense action to take. Once both of them have decided on which combat card to play, one of them playing an attack card, the one with the initiative, and the other one playing a defense card, they may flip the cards over. When the cards are flipped, they need to pay for those cards. I keep track of this with additional tokens. Guard is the most efficient card in the game. It doesn't cost anything. Flail is pretty cheap. It costs 1 agility and 1 ferocity. So I just take those and put them outside of my kaiju card to show that I have spent this much of my resources so far. Now you compare the cards and their effects, and you can see here that this does 0 damage with a potential bonus of 1 for claws. And over here, this has 2 toughness. That means that all of the damage done by this attack is completely absorbed. Now discard the cards and start the next round of actions. Initiative goes back to Team Maro, and this time Team Maro is out for blood. Team Maro has selected Facebreaker for its action. Team 42 discreetly selects Guard. Once again, they do not reveal their cards to each other. They make their decisions quietly and carefully. Then, when both of them have decided on their cards and placed them face down, it is time to reveal them and place them face up. Pay for them, and then compare the effects. Okay, so we now need to pay for Facebreaker. Facebreaker is a fairly powerful card, so it takes this many tokens to use. It does 4 damage, and it is only being blocked for an effect of 2 damage, so we do actually deal damage on this turn. First, before you apply any other damage, you have to remove the 2 of the... So you do 2 damage, so you need to remove 2 fortitude tokens from the top of the card. These are the extra fortitude bonus that you get from the team card once again. Now initiative goes back to Team 42. Correction, I keep saying Team 42, but it's Team 47. Both teams select their appropriate action. They reveal, and then they pay. Notice that although this card asks for 3 red and 3 blue, I have to use 1 yellow. That's because this character only has 3 ferocity. So I've already spent 1, as you can see. Here are 2. And to make up the difference, you can use a energy token to pay for the deficit in ferocity. This would also work if I had a deficit in agility. The power stat itself simply means that on one turn or one round, when you play one card rather, you can only use that many tokens at once. Now it's interesting to note that this character has run out of ferocity and agility. This means that they're going to be very limited by what they can do. Luckily they have very high power, so they can lean on that a little bit, but it won't last too long without them having to roar. And roaring means you're not attacking. Anyway, let's take a look at the cards. This is a very good card here. Unstoppable just did 4 damage, only 3 of which it was blocked, so we do have to remove one of these tokens here and cast it aside. Then, over here, we look at the effect. When played with the initiative, this gains combo. That means that on the next round, guess what? This guy gets to attack again. But wait a moment, we use roll with the blow, which means that since this is a fierce technique, we didn't have to take that damage. So we'll put it back. We dodge all fierce attacks and techniques. The small print at the bottom of the card only speaks to non-fierce attacks. A word on rampaging. If Mijin were now to decide to attack the secure bunker, all he would have to do is defeat the fortitude of 2, which is not particularly difficult to do. Doing so would get him 3 victory points, or glory points, as you can see on the top right of the card. The secure bunker defends itself with exactly the resources that it has there. 2 ferocity, 1 agility, and 2 power. If Team Morrow were attacking, Team 47 would be the team to use their own combat cards to defend the secure bunker. After that, you just keep playing until both kaiju pass, or one of the kaiju is defeated, or you use a planning card that ends the battle in some premature sort of way, like the Run Like Hell card. Now, because these green tokens are not on the card, but they're outside the card, that shows that this is the amount of damage that has been done to this kaiju, which means, okay, if he has base ferocity of 5, then this 5 tokens would mean it is knocked out or dead. When a kaiju is defeated, it goes into the other player's glory pile. Buildings and other cards, event cards that give additional glory will also go into this pile. Make sure you keep track of which cards belong to you and which cards belong to your opponent. All kaijus, unless otherwise noted by their team card or the back of their card, are worth 5 glory points. All 3 of these buildings are worth 3 glory points. There are other opponents, like military opponents and buildings that are worth 5 or 7 glory points. There are a few other phases to the game, but they're very simple, such as the planning phase, where you just draw your planning draws worth of, up to your planning draws worth of planning cards, and the healing phase, where you heal 1 damage to any inactive kaiju. After a kaiju is defeated, you can withdraw the kaiju that was attacking it, because the combat is over at this point and you're going to start the whole turn phase from the beginning. And then that means that this kaiju will be healing inactively, while the another kaiju is activated and made the fighter. Or you could continue with the same kaiju if you really wanted to. And of course, Team Morrow would have to choose between one of the 2 remaining kaiju to go out there. To win the game, you need 20 victory points. If your team only has 3 kaiju, then losing all 3 kaiju would also end the game. I highly recommend picking up poker chips, especially mini poker chips, One thing that I haven't mentioned yet, and I'm going to mention it now, is that you should be, and I'm using these white ones, every time that you take damage, you should put a token on your team card, and then when you get 9 tokens in this case, because the team fury is 9, you get to unleash a fury attack on your opponent. The details for that are in the rules. I don't want to talk about it too much right now because I'm afraid that I would get it wrong, but I think it's just any active kaiju that are in play, you get you do 2 damage, and then you also draw a number of cards and get a number of energy tokens. And you would also need to clear the tokens off your card and start counting again. Well, that's Colossal Kaiju Combat, the card game in a nutshell. If you watch the other videos I have on building a team, and then you watch this video a couple times, it should be enough to get you into the game and playing. Of course, take a look at the rules because there's a few more details in there about the different planning phases and maybe a couple things I didn't touch on. But for the most part, this should be pretty complete. If you have any questions, please feel free to ask me or post in the rules thread in the forums. And thanks for watching. Goodbye.